Good day and welcome to the 20th anniversary episode of CDI Talks. CDI Talks is a project of the Center for Democratic Integrity, an Austria-based NGO that analyzes attempts of authoritarian regimes to influence politics and societies in Europe. My guest today is Lithuanian diplomat Linas Linkevičius. Ambassador Linkevičius was Lithuania's defense minister from 1993 to 1996 and later from 2000 to 2004. He was also Lithuania's permanent representative to NATO in the period between 2005 and 2011. In 2012, Ambassador Linkevičius was appointed Minister of Foreign Affairs, a post which he held until 2020. During his tenure as Foreign Minister, Ambassador Linkevičius was known as a consistent opponent of compromises with Russia over security issues in the eastern neighborhood of the European Union. I recently met Ambassador Linkevičius in Vilnius as I was eager to hear his assessment of the current situation in Europe given Russia's ongoing war against Ukraine. I hope you will find our conversation interesting and useful, and if you do, please like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay updated on future episodes of CDI Talks. Mr. Linkevičius, thank you very much for agreeing to talk to me. For more than 20 years probably now, Baltic states and East European countries were saying, "I told you so," or "we told you so," when talking to West European counterparts. Do you see a significant shift in the perspectives of West Europeans towards Russia now?
Word significant, I would think twice before agreeing with you, but yeah, there's some shift. And yes, we were saying that we told you, and I did that myself many times. And now it's becoming maybe kind of feeling that our Western colleagues and allies, they're feeling that themselves, something is going with them personally, because previously it looked like something happening, but not with them. Maybe it's even science fiction. We try to say that, look, it's in Europe, we have to take it seriously, but it was not easy. Later it became quite the issue, and here I would agree with you. Yes, there is some shift. Is it enough? We will see.
You were foreign minister for 8 years. Did you see that shift happening in any of countries, outside of the former socialist bloc or the Soviet Union?
Yes, including that. But to be more precise, I will not point, if I may, no personalities or countries, but some I can mention in positive way, because in Eastern Partnership more active were, I would say, Baltic states, Poland, Sweden, because Sweden was behind Eastern Partnership program. Others were more passive, I would say. So for me, it was really lessons like MH17 downing, and I had interesting discussions with my at that time colleague, Foreign Minister of Netherlands, Frans Timmermans, who is now Vice President of the Commission. We're still in good relations, and we're discussing things with him a lot. And I remember he was telling that, look, Linas, you're right, but probably you're wrong, because you're too close. You cannot be objective. It's not so bad. Things are developing, and let's be pragmatic. And after downing, he was shocked. Literally shocked, and said, "What happened?" I said, "Look, what's supposed to happen? Again, I told you, I told you, this is really serious." And pressure by society was very strong in Netherlands. They forced to react, which was not before. Another example I'm always providing. For me, it's emotional, but also quite, I believe, strong. It's Charlie Hebdo. You remember this massacre? And we all say, "Je suis Charlie," and I was also dispatched to Paris to show this solidarity. We were marching down the streets of Paris. I remember this reaction. It was really emotional, "Je suis Charlie." And a couple of days we had discussion in Foreign Affairs Council, and I told the story to my colleagues. I said, I was there, I saw Paris, I saw these people really affected personally, and "Je suis Charlie." But my question was, how many Ukrainians should be killed in order to say "Je suis Ukrainian"? Because at that time, later it was different, but at that time there were about the same number was killed every day. Same number as Charlie Hebdo team. And that's also implicitly answers to the question that it's not happening with me, happening with them. And this is just to illustrate what you're asking. So this is changing upon getting more experience and more pain maybe So at the very beginning, it was really hopeless. And coming to the point I told you, so first what I told was after annexation of Georgia. Because if you follow documents, reactions of international organizations, it was really strong. It was not abstract, just we condemn or what, no, it was very concrete conditions which must be fulfilled in order to get back to business as usual, basically. Otherwise, there will be no business as usual, no cooperation, and 20% of territory was occupied, as we remember. But in few months, I would say, literally in few months, we got back to business as usual because we were called to be pragmatic, flexible, whatever. Dialogue, this mystical dialogue is very important. Also 2008, very important in terms of listening what Russia says. It was Bucharest summit. I was there, I remember, very tough discussions on whether to give membership action plan to Ukraine and Georgia or not. It was very tough resistance. We were insisting, just handful of us, again, Eastern Europeans, some, also not all even, and big players in Europe saying, no, it will be provocative, we cannot do that. And we said that should be provocative if you will not give the map, because that would indicate that this is space for maneuvers for them. They really can do that, and that would be really harmful and detrimental. It could even increase tensions. So they didn't agree, and in a few months war started in South Caucasus, not against Ukraine at that time, against Georgia. And I remember I told the colleague, look, so we were right, we told you. No, you are wrong, because it would be even worse. So that was psychology. About provocations, I would add here, maybe you agree that for Russia, for Putin's Russia, it is weakness that provokes them to do even more actions. If they feel that their Western counterparts showing signs of weakness, they would just push forward. I would say even the same manuals from time of Dzerzhinsky, if you wish, to go ahead, to fix points, and if no resistance, it doesn't mean that you should comply to the reality which is favorable for your demands, with regard to your demands, but no, you're going again, testing waters, checking how far you can go, how deep you can go, and this is always the case, And this, I think, West Europeans do not really understand, that the idea of a dialogue that the Western Europe or the West generally favors, it's not the same. The Russians, they do not respect the dialogue as such. For them, dialogue is a zero-sum game. It's either ultimatums or something else. I would say that if you are, again, it's about rules. Dialogue, I'm a diplomat, how I can say against dialogue. Dialogue is very important. But if it's not combined with the partners like this, with the power arguments, it means nothing. For them, it's saving time. For them, it's also portraying the situation like normal process. So process is going on, we are discussing, but they're not having no intention to change anything. Just to save time sometimes, to get back force, which maybe sometimes exhausted, and it serves as a smoke screen to do nothing. And again, let me come back to Bucharest, which is very important meeting of NATO-Russia Council, where Putin was speaking to NATO leaders, and he was criticizing with whom you are cooperating. You're cooperating with a country which is not existing, which is artificial creation. And these leaders looked at each other and with confusion what he's talking about. And remember, Prime Minister of Denmark, Anders Fogh Rasmussen, future Secretary General of NATO, he responded on behalf of all NATO leaders in elegant way, as usually, as Mr. President. It's not the way we are talking about our partners. And then during the break, they were talking what he's talking about. Again, few of us, handful of us, said that he means that. So why he's talking? What would be the worst mistake now? Appeasement, somebody believes that we will do something in order to reach peace at any expense, and then peace will come. It will be the same as with Prime Minister Chamberlain, who showed signature of Hitler, was happy, showing that we reached peace, It was exactly the same story. Although we heard really weird and bizarre statements from Russian officials before, today statements about getting Alaska back or repealing Lithuania's independence sound particularly threatening, or
potentially threatening. What do you make of it? Why are they doing this? Is it trolling or is it something else?
It's trolling, I believe. It probably also works for domestic audience, that we are strongest, we are most important, nothing in the world happening without us. That was always during in the media when they were never demandeurs, by the way. if we can, they were expelled from G7, right? G8 became G7. They said we never needed that. If they need, they will invite. If somebody needs to negotiate any crisis, they will come to Moscow, which is true. I'm always saying this leaders queuing to visit and meet Putin, if not in Moscow, in Sochi.
Well, we recently saw one foreign minister of
yeah, but
EU
this foreign minister
state
representing country which is behaving not as European Union country, and this is maybe exceptional, but also good symptom. Yeah, talking about possible consensus in EU, also in NATO. By the way, it's also NATO member, so it's raising a lot of questions where we are. But knowing this weak points, very good to exploit. Very good to do. So my reading is that Russia cannot break Ukraine. But can try to break West.
I would like to go back to what you said in one of those comments, and also now, that Putin actually means what he says. And you were referring to that Bucharest speech of his when he said that Ukraine was not a real country, yeah. And well, that he repeated this in various forms very often, that Ukraine was a country that did not exist, the Ukrainian nation did not exist, and basically this is in a way a genocidal rhetoric. When you say that a particular national community does not exist, it means that it should not exist. And I truly believe that this is what's happening today in Ukraine. Putin is trying to destroy the Ukrainian nation, but referring to this idea that Putin means what he says, what do you think of his nuclear threats? Does he mean what he says here when he talks about the possibility of a nuclear war?
He threatens blackmailing when feels it's possible. Somebody hearing, somebody scared, and he will use it. Whether it's crazy enough to use it, it's another question. I don't know. It should be psychologist or somebody else. The hope is that this is, regardless of the importance of this single button, I still hope that there are more people in the chain. I still believe that those people are not crazy enough and would not sacrifice their future of their children for the ambitions of one man who is a bit crazy, to say the least. So this is bluffing, but since it's working, so why not to use? Because frankly, it's the only argument left. It's the bottom of all arguments. Everything is exhausted.
You said that these are ambitions of one person. When you referred to, why Russian citizens would die for the ambitions of one person. Do you believe that it's just one person?
No, you're right. Your comment's quite right. Yes, I don't believe that he's the only one who thinks that. Definitely there are more. And we're listening what Medvedev talking, what our friend...
Medvedev is a joke, in my opinion.
Yeah, former president, whatever, joke, not joke. Or guys like Rogozin, who is always, close to this. Yeah, they're thinking like that. I was always trying to distinguish Kremlin and Russia, basically. And then I confessed I was wrong. It's becoming something else. Majority of Russians, brainwashed or whatever reasons, they are, if not supporting, they're tolerating. If they're tolerating, so that means they have to take responsibility for what is happening. And when we're talking about this Russophobia, when I talk to many those opposition people who are feeling uncomfortable, to say the least, when they are isolated as well, because citizens of Russia. But I'm trying to say patiently, but guys, you have to assume responsibility. This is something what's happening on behalf of your nation. And even if you are not directly engaged, you have to feel this responsibility. I shouldn't make these parallels, but same as German nation still feel responsibility, all those many generations after war, but they still feel this responsibility. Here I have a message to them as well. When they're saying that we will never be never ever will be reasons for next world war, I said you can do the reason not by doing something, but by not doing something.
It's already the deadliest war since the Second World War in Europe. So if it's not a third world war, it's already quite damaging. It's already quite catastrophic.
Absolutely. And also, what is very quite alarming, I would say, concerning. I had many of those saying that Putin was wrong to annex Crimea. He was wrong to attack Donbass. But since we are engaged, we have to win. It's also interesting psychologically. Russia must win. Russia cannot lose. And this is understanding of those who believe that he was wrong in starting all this nightmare.
My last question, you mentioned the sanctions, that they are efficient and they may be even more efficient in the future, by this autumn or in winter. But these are tactical approaches. What do you think our strategic approach to Russia should be?
Well, strategically, Russia cannot be part of European security architecture, at least for the foreseeable future, until things will be corrected. Because they're claiming to be not just a part, but as a decisive factor. So strategically, it should be admitted. And strategically, it should be understood that Russia should be excluded from European security architecture as a player, as a dealer. And by the way, expelled from United Nations. Easy to say or difficult, but they have veto rights, so nothing can happen without them.
They're one of the founding members. So.
Yeah, but in General Assembly there were precedents when it was South Africa expelled from or suspended. All General Assembly should vote. Do we have situation like this as a mood in General Assembly? It's another question, because the big influence of Russia, the Africa.
There is China.
Yeah, but I'm talking about precedents. If you look into the charter, which country is eligible to be member, they're also saying about peaceful nature and whatever. They cannot be aggressive against your neighbor. So it's no compliance at all by far. So that would be useful. And if it will happen, I doubt, but we have to go along these ways.
Mr. Linkevičius, thank you very much for this conversation.
Pleasure.